Okay, now if you were following this thing along, the other day I told you how I got in the Navy. Now, I'm in the Navy, I'm in the reserves, and I told you it was two things that we had to do. And that was boot camp, 2 weeks, and then sea duty, 2 weeks. So about now it's about March, April timeframe. And it comes up for my 2 weeks of boot camp. So I pack up, head down to the airport, fly out to Chicago. They have guys waiting for you there. They take you out to the Navy base out there, and Naval Recruiting Center or something like that. Anyway, so we go out and we're going through the line, and the first thing they do is they give you a big duffel bag, right? You got all your stuff, and they give you a tag that you put on a duffel bag that your hole, your chin, and it's got all your stuff, sizes and stuff like that on there. You got to fill that out ahead of time. So we go through, guys throwing stuff in. They get to me, or I get down to the shoe place. The guy, now I take a 10D, very middle of the road shoe. No shoes left, no 10Ds, and only like big clodhopper shoes, and too small. Other shoes that were too small, or shoes were really big. So I'm like, come on, you gotta be kidding me, Guys, keep moving, no shoes. So I go through. I happen to have a pair of black shoes, but nothing like Navy shoes. So I go, take the stuff, take it, and the guy takes us back to the barracks. And back in the barracks, and we're all waiting around, right? Standing there, what the hell, nothing going on. And this little guy comes in. Little, I mean, maybe 5'2", but he's got a uniform on, He comes in, he comes over, he takes a table, he takes a chair, turns it around, steps on a chair, then he steps on the table, right? And he starts talking to us, right? And it was a little guy. His voice sounded like it came from the bottom of a mine shaft or something. Deepest voice I ever heard. Jeez. Anyway, he's telling us kind of what's going to go on, And then he says, anybody here with any prior military experience? Nobody raises their hand. Nobody had any prior. Okay. Anybody here with any ROTC experience? And I raised my hand. Now, I was the only one out of 80 guys to raise their hand. Now, I don't know if everybody else was lying, or maybe they weren't. Maybe I was the only guy with ROTC experience. Anyway, he goes, okay, you're the RPOC, which didn't mean anything to me. I was like, what the hell is an RPOC? Turns out it's a Recruit Petty Officer Chief, okay? So anyway, that was what I was. Well, it turned out that I was in charge when he wasn't there. That's what it said. That was the problem. So anyway, he tells us kind of what's going to happen. And he says, look, tomorrow morning, we're going to meet 0700, whatever, okay. And then we'll form up outside. So everybody, we hit the rack, and there was a couple things about making your bed and stuff like that, how you do it, some formalities there. Anyway, we all hit the rack, go to sleep, get up next day, and we head down to form, form up. And he gets out there and he says, okay, Duffy, you're going to march these guys. And he's going to be there with me, okay? You're going to march these guys. And he says, we need a guidon bearer, a flag, with a unit flag. So he just grabs some kid. He says, hey, you're here. Boom, gives him a flag. So he's going to be out in front of the unit, and we're going to be marching. He forms us all up, lines us up, 2 by 2, 2 across, that's it. And a big long column, about 40 guys, but it was tight. Anyway, we start marching, and he's moaning about this, that, and the other thing. Different guys are not, out of step and stuff like that, but nothing big. So we marched to the first couple of things, and the first day you get a lot of we got lectures on how to brush your teeth and how to clean yourself and stuff like that, because apparently there are people that, aren't really too good at that. Anyway, we go through the whole thing, and we go to lunch, and then in the afternoon, we started the regular kind of drills, more or less. I know. The first thing in the morning, that's what it was. First thing in the morning, we went for haircuts. Everybody got, okay? And then we went to a couple things, and then we went to a medical, and he just left. He said, take the guys back to the barracks. He leaves. So we're going through the medical thing, and they're taking your weight and all this other stuff. And but we're now not a unit. We're just a bunch of guys going through the thing, okay? And all they told us was, if you're going back, if you have 4 guys, you can march back. Otherwise, you got to jog it back. You got to run, okay? You just can't. If it's 4 guys, you can go as a little unit and march in step. But if it's 2 guys or less, or 3 guys or less, you got to run. So anyway, guys jogging back to the barracks. But one of the guys in front of me, he gets, they're taking a blood sample, and he gets stuck with the needle, and he says, hey, what the? Yeah, anyway. And the guy who's giving it to him, the corpsman grabs him and says, what'd you say? And the kid's shaking like a leaf. He's an 18-year-old, okay? We're all like 22, 23 years old. This kid's like an 18-year-old. He's shaking like a leaf. I didn't say anything. He pushes him back, and he says, you stand there until you tell me what you said, right? So the kid's standing there with the needle in his arm. So like, I'm 4th or 5th back. We go through, each guy goes up. I get up, and he says, roll up your sleeve, I says, hey, before you take that blood out of me, you take that needle out of that kid. And he says, who the hell, what are you talking about? Now, I'm a college kid. I know he can't do that. He's a corpsman. Holy crow, he can't do that. And I know I can go to the CO, okay? Not the CO, the XO. I can go to the executive officer, and he's in big trouble. So I said, you got to take it out of his arm. So he goes over, he takes it out of his arm. Kid sends the kid on his way. Comes back over, he looks at me. He said, are you ready? And I go, yeah, I'm ready. Just do it right. And I let him take the blood. I had a couple of second thoughts, but I figured, what the heck. So anyway, but it just gives you a sense of how they treated the 18-year-olds and how they treated the guys that were older, So anyway, we get back from that, and the chief, the little chief, I guess he was a first class. He really wasn't a chief, but he was in charge of us, okay? So he goes back in, and he says, he calls me into his office, and he says, all right, now here, tomorrow I want you to do boom, 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 and go here. And I'm like, I don't even know where here is, you know what I mean? And he's got a little map. He's down here, down. So he's giving me instructions on how to take these guys. He ain't gonna be there. So I'm like, what the heck? So he lays out where I gotta go. I only gotta go like, let's say, a place in the morning and maybe 2 in the afternoon. That's it, okay? And then, I didn't realize this, but in the morning we went to one place. Then we're supposed to go to the grinder, okay? That's a big parade ground where you practice marching, okay? Well, he tells me, go to this class and then get back here. And he says, just hang around, So he said, but don't be conspicuous. Don't be conspicuous. It was kind of funny, Anyway, so I get up in the morning and everything's ready, and I get the guys out there, and I get one of the guys and say, hey, you're going to be the guide on bear. It was the same guy from the day before, right? It's okay. He gets out in front. Now I'm leading the pack, right? So we start marching. Well, the guys, like, they don't have to follow me like they got to follow the chief. Pretty soon, we're walking down the street on the sidewalk. Walking down the street, but pretty soon the line's getting longer and longer and longer. They're spreading out, they're walking, they're talking to one another. So a couple of guys are smoking cigarettes. And then we get to a place where we're supposed to turn. By this time, I'm back talking to these guys. I finally realized, hey, we're turning here. Hey, left flank, whatever the hell it was, turn left. So we turned left, the group, and I'm hollering at the guys from back in the pack. Well, the guy down there, he didn't hear us. He's out. He's like 15 yards ahead of us. And he's just marching down the street. So we're going this way. He's going that way. And one of the other units, they're marching along nice and tight. The guy sees us. He stops his unit and he starts running, literally running. He first hits the guy down there and he reams him out. And the guy down there looks around. This time he's about 30 yards from us, right? And we're going the wrong way. So he starts going back. And then the guy comes over and he starts reaming me out, right? Because of the setup and everybody's, marching like a bunch of idiots. And then he's reaming me out. Then he looks down and he sees my shoes. Oh, now he goes ballistic, what are his shoes? And I try to tell him, his shoes. He says, you better get your butt over there tomorrow and get those shoes. And line these guys up. And he's hollering. So he squares everybody away, And then we just had to march straight to the building we were going to, So I got by that, right? But nervous wreck. So we get from there, we all head back. And I'm saying, hey, fours, you march, otherwise you jog. Everybody basically just jogged back. We jogged back, and then we're sitting around, killing time. So we're trying to be inconspicuous. So you can't sit on your bunk. The bunk is made once during the day, and you touch the bunk until you go to bed. That's it. So you end up sitting on the floor. So everybody's sitting on the floor for two reasons. One, you can't sit on the bunk. And two, to be inconspicuous, because everybody else, we look out, everybody else is out there marching around and stuff. So we're sitting down on the floor saying, what the heck's, what's going on? The chief never come back, our chief, he wasn't the chief, I thought he was first class. So anyway, we go to lunch. And we're at lunch, and it's a cold, wintry day, a wind whipping. Go to lunch, and we're sitting at lunch, chowing down, and the guys at the next table are talking about the grinder, which is where they were, marching in the cold, while we're sitting in the barracks. So the guys are about the grinder, this, that, and the other thing. The guy next to me says, hey, Duff, what's the grinder? And I'm like, ooh, geez. I grabbed him and I said, so the other guys at the other table look at me, yeah, what's the grinder? Ha, 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 ha. They think he's kidding. He didn't know what the grinder was because he never went out there. So we go, I tell him, I say, well, I'll tell you later, So I finally clued him in, saying, hey, they're out there on a marching. We're not doing it, okay? This guy, I don't know how he's doing it, but, hey, I'm not going to buck the system. But so anyway, he goes back in, the chief or whatever the heck is, and in the afternoon takes us to a couple of places, right? And there's a big stress on fire prevention, or how to deal with a fire, not prevention, how to handle a fire. Because it turns out in the Navy, in civilian life, you're taught, hey, if there's a fire, get away from it, right? Get out. But in the Navy, you got to go to the fire because it's your home. If it goes down, you're going down with it. So there's a big stress on how to fight different kinds of fires and different methodologies and approach to fighting different fires. And a lot of big stress on that. Anyway, we went through one of those in the afternoon. But then he goes back and he says, oh, by the way, he said, the Navy forgot to issue you sweat socks, and we got activities coming up. You're going to need sweat socks. So he goes, you're going to have to buy the sweat socks. So we're like, okay, how much are the sweat socks? $1 a piece. So He says, Duffy, collect the money. And meet me in my office. So I collect $1 from everybody, $80. I get down to the office. I hand him the $80, right? And he says, okay, I'll take care of it. Now, we never see sweat stocks. Now, $80 doesn't sound like much. But at the time, okay, a college graduate, okay, out of a good school, working at a good job out of college, was making $5,000 a year. Women were making less than $4,000 a year. A lot of women with college degrees. It wasn't the same, okay? So $5,000. Well, think about it. $5,000 a year is $2.50 an hour, right? So a week is only $100 a week. This guy just get $80. He's not paying any tax on it. He's not declaring it. You know, hey, not bad, right? So, but we are not getting hassled. We're not out on the grinder. So it's kind of a quid pro quo. Anyway, that is the first lesson learned. And I'll cover some other ones in the next couple of videos. Okay? Take care. Talk to you later. Oops. Let me